I wanted to cover the Melanie Gibb interview, and I've gotten a hold of the raw footage. So, what I've done is I've zoomed it in so we can get a better look at those involved. And I've skipped a lot of the fluff at the beginning, like, where did you meet? Let's get into Lori. Let's learn about Lori.
And in another account, she has it as Phoebe.
Yes.
Is
That doesn't
something that you're
surprise me.
aware of?
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
She had different names she'd like to call me because she got to the point, I think, where she just got more secretive with her life.
Okay.
So.
That was aware, a name you were aware that she would refer to
she
you
referred
as.
to
Any reason why?
Yeah. So you know how Chad would tell her who her lives were?
Okay.
And so in one of her lives, she had a whole bunch of children, and one of those was Phoebe. And so she said that was me.
Okay.
Does
So
that make
you
sense?
happen to be one of her children in a previous life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe that, just for the record. Okay. Just let me get that out there.
Yeah. All right. One more record, and I have two more actually. So here's another recording. Tell me if you recognize this one.
It's Lori.
I feel like
So that was in my house,
Okay.
and there was friends there. So yeah, that's Lori's name.
Do you know when this was?
So it was shortly after I met her, and I usually have Friday classes.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly the date because I would have to go research a lot of emails to figure out when I had that. But that was before she met Chad. I believe that. At least I believe that recording.
So would it be safe to say if they met in October, so I can just, it would be October of 2018?
I have recordings on my phone of that one, but she did a couple, so let me just check them.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Lori Melanie. So I have 2 dates. It might have been October 19th. Wait, is that before? Yeah, that was before preparing people.
Yeah, it was 26.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're going to be helpful for me. It could have been. I have it written down as the 19th, and I also have the 12th. So anyway, I think it's the 12th of the 19th.
Okay. Let me see if I can.
And you probably have both of those. I gave them to Elder. Officer.
Elder, he'll be happy you called him Elder.
Sorry.
Let me see, I'm trying to find it.
She's just too smiley during all this, in my opinion. Way too smiley, way too giggly, way too happy, because we know why she's there.
Me and turned it around to where the judges believed him instead of me, and he was constantly trying to get custody of my 3-year-old daughter. And
So you guys got that, which is great.
Rub it in my face, and I went through a lot of years of this kind of hard stuff, and I was going to murder him. I was going to kill him, like the scriptures say, like, if I killed him, just to stop the pain, and to stop him coming after me, and to stop him coming after my children. And I just thought I couldn't take it anymore. And I would go through the scriptures and find all the things, like, if he comes against you once, if he comes against you twice, if he comes against you 3 times, then you can kill him. It says it in the scriptures.
That's good stuff.
Does that, do you recognize the script? Were you there when this was said?
Yeah.
Okay, so you recall her saying that?
Oh yeah.
Now, she refers to the scriptures and saying that. Do you know what scripture she's...
I would think Doctrine and Covenants section 90, is it 98, where he talks about when Joseph Smith is talking about those parts where if people hurt you in a family, then you forgive them, and then you get to a point where after so many times, I think that's what she's referring to.
Let me see if she had something else here.
Here it is. There's my answer. I don't want to do anything that's wrong. I did not have a murderous heart. I just wanted to stop the bleeding and stop the pain. And so someone wise was speaking to me and said, you need to go to the temple. So I went back to my bishop and I was like, I'm either going to turn my life to the temple or I'm going to commit murder. So do you want to give me a temple recommend?
Wow.
And I was perfectly honest because at that point I had nothing to lose. You get to the bottom rung and I had nothing to lose. And he gave me my temple recommend. And I started going to the temple.
Okay. So that would have been, we're thinking October 19th of 2008.
I think that was that one.
Okay, so that was before, it was still, we're safe to say it's October.
Yep. Yep.
Do you know who her bishop would have been at that time?
So she was living in that first house I met her, which is the very large house. I know what it looks like. I do not know the name of her bishop. And they moved a lot, so whenever she's referring to that, probably was when she lived in Hawaii or Texas or who knows.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't have been a current one. Because she's talking about the past, because she had already been divorced, she divorced Joe and already was with Charles by this point, so we're talking years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd not heard that audio of Lori yet? I love how she just, oh yeah, that happened.
My next question to you, kind of help me out here. It looks like July 9th,
Okay.
so 2 days before Charles was killed. Do you remember being at Lori's house?
I don't remember the day, but I remember I was spending the night because I was divorcing my husband, and so I was, she was like, you should probably not stay at home all the time, that kind of talk.
Okay.
I said, well, sure, I'd be happy to spend the night, or whatever. And so I was at her house. I get up that morning, and she goes, you gotta leave. And I'm like, why? She goes, Charles is coming down. He's gonna try to kill me. And I'm like, and she was like a storm all the time, and I was calm.
Sure.
I'm a very calm person. I was like, oh, well, why? What reason does he have? I don't understand.
Mhm.
So she explained to me that her brother was flying into town,
Mhm.
which, I know that I've heard, you meet a lot of people on the journey. So anyway, that he did come into town, Adam, and then Zach, her nephew, and her dad. They were all after her, so that'd been 4 people. And Brandon Boudreaux, right? So that'd been 5 people. Count right?
They were after her?
That's what she said. They were all after her. They were coming to get her. And I said, well, why? And she said, well, I have $3 million of insurance that Charles changed on the documentation because he was an insurance guy. Anyway, and she said they wanted the money for that. So they wanted to kill her to get the money because they were evil and they were dark and they were all these, things. They were all zombies by this point. So
They were all zombies by this point. And remember, Lori was shocked when she didn't get the money for when Charles died, and then made sure to cancel her own life insurance, if I'm remembering right.
So that was her reason. So anyway, I left, and I got a call. I think it was 4 days later. Felt like it was to tell me what happened. Yeah.
Do you remember any of the text messages between you guys? Because I know there was one, and I'm trying to look for it now.
Yeah.
I'm just going off the top of my head. I know you said something like, I'm here in front of your house.
Yeah, and I couldn't. She was, sometimes when I go over there, she didn't hear me, so I'd like figure out where she was, go around the back.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I could have definitely said that. That sounds like something I would have texted.
Let me see if I can just find this.
And I don't know when that was. So I know I didn't see her until she called me, or I called her. I think she called me. I can't recall, but anyway, I came after she told me, like, 4 or 5 something days later, I came to visit her at the house that he was shot in.
Tell me about that. What happened then?
So when I went up there,
Mhm.
she first of all asked me about like the news, like if I'd watched the news, and so I said no, I haven't watched the news. And so she told me, she said, well, he was coming, he was plotting, to kill me, and then she said, and I said, well, how did he die? And she says, well, he came into, so I got to remember details. It's
No,
been foggy, sorry. So if I don't say as clear as I did last time, it's because I'm trying to forget all this.
Yeah, right.
It's hard for me to recall it all the time, honestly. But anyway, so she says, I remember her saying things like this. I'll just be all over the place, but these are the things I remember. I think they were buckling him in the car or something like that. And his phone was like in the middle between the 2 car seats, she said.
Okay.
And I can't recall where he was at the time, but she said that she was out there with JJ in the car. And then she said, she always referred to her certain spirit people that she talked to. So she said this one spirit person, I'm trying to remember how to pronounce it now. Anyways, out there. She said, she told me to pick up the phone, to get the phone. So she said, she grabbed Charles's phone, went to the house, and he freaked out on her. Was saying things like, you give me my phone back? And she said, and probably Alex said too, I don't know, between the 2 of them. But anyway, yeah, she said that he started, yelling at her, give me my phone back. Now he started getting enraged. I think it's what she told the police, the police department too. Tylee comes out with a bat and is saying, I don't know, they're fighting. She says that he's threatening her for her life, threatens to kill her, something like that. And they're fighting, then Alex and him get in a fight, and then he goes to his bedroom, felt a prompting, I think, if I remember correctly, to get his gun and kind of self-defense. I remember at one point, he said that Charles was on top of him, and it's like he had 1,000 demons in him. That's what he said. And then,
That's what Alex said?
yeah.
Okay.
And then, sorry, I'm going between what she said and he said, so I don't know if she said that. Anyway, sorry. And so, anyway, so Charles came, he tried to push Charles off him at one point, if I remember correctly, and said he was really strong, something like that. And then I think that's when he got the gun, I'm not sure. But anyway, then he shot him.
So we have Lori, according to her story, hearing a voice in her head to steal a man's cell phone. And then Alex claiming he has the power of demons before shooting him. You know, I don't remember that being what they told the police.
Yeah, something. So anyway, lots of arguing, lots of threatening.
Did you recall her saying that she got the phone from
So
the
she
car?
got the phone from the car. That's what she told me. The interesting thing, I said to her, I was like, so did you look on the phone? Like, is he, you know, what did you find? And I'm like, how did you know how to open it? And she's like, well, I asked my angels and they told me the code. It was like 1,000. And so I opened it up. I said, so was he really cheating on you? Like all the things you said, oh yeah, there were all these pictures of girls and all these things on it. So she was trying to verify her story about him cheating on her and then, you know, him being this bad person. She tried to make him to be. So she was trying to build that case. Now, I look back now, that's what she was trying to do. I didn't know that at the time.
And this would have been 4 days after when you came over to the house.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, I wonder if she'll try to get in, like, what was on his phone for trial.
You went over there on the 9th, and I'm just going to say the 9th because it looks like your phone, that's when you said, hey, I'm here.
Okay.
And she made a comment, says, I'm out back on an important call.
Okay.
Do you remember maybe that text? Or did you go out back and see her? Was
Probably.
she frantic that night?
Oh,
Was
no,
she?
no. So I'm trying to remember. Was it the evening?
Yes.
Was this before the death?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that was the night you said. No, she wasn't frantic. Let me tell what you recall. Oh, sorry, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard too. Sometimes it's just hard to. Anyway. I remember, and I can't remember if it's this night. This is why, because I know I spent the night more than once. This is why I got to remember the night. I hope maybe I'm remembering this correctly. I remember she's just like, just so dark. I'm just so upset. Satan's really attacking me. I just have, you know, she's talking about her like getting a headache or not feeling well to the point of really bad. And so she just talked about how bad she felt. And she was probably talking to Chad, is my guess. She was always talking to him on the phone. So I didn't always ask her because she was just, and she'd go off in her own little land, and I kind of separate myself at times from her, so I didn't always pay attention. I didn't pay attention to a lot of stuff because she was kind of a little bit drama, and so she was like in a whirlwind, and I was kind of outside that whirlwind.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
That's the best way I can describe me and her.
You do not sound outside of anything.
She's got the whirlwind, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not a drama queen. I don't really get your energy, but okay, you know what I mean? So that's what I remember.
Now, I think I skipped it because it was like the introduction at the very beginning of like how she met Lori. They were introduced because there was a third party who considered them very similar. Just putting that out there where she tries to distance herself.
Yeah.
So let me back up to January. So obviously it looks like from what we can tell is in January, around January 30th,
Yeah.
was an argument between her and Charles.
Is that when it
And then
was?
that's when she was going to leave.
Okay, that was January 30th.
January 30th. So it looks like on the 31st is when I think you might have went with her to Gilbert PD.
Okay.
Or January 30th.
Okay.
The 31st, they were Gilbert.
You went to Gilbert PD.
Yeah.
And that's when they told her about the mental health evaluation.
That's right.
And then she agreed to go.
That's right.
So over there to
Yeah.
be.
Which I covered previously. I had the footage from that where they tried to... The police tried to tell her how to avoid getting forced to do the mental health evaluation, which was ridiculous.
Scene on that.
Yeah.
From that point on, do you know where she went?
Let me back up just a minute because
Okay.
this is important.
Yeah.
When she was in there, that police station that day, and she was talking to whoever that officer was,
Okay.
she was telling him the things that I'm sure she thought were important, which was, you know, he's cheating on me. This is a domestic, dispute. She said she knew how to handle the police, so she just knew that they would get involved at a certain point and wouldn't care about certain things, you know.
Okay.
Anyway, I was listening. I could probably have that conversation later, but anyway, she's talking to them and she's telling them all about him, committing adultery or whatever, cheating on her in California, something about some women, I don't know. So I said to her, like, she's like, he says to her, well, do you have proof that he's cheating on you? And she said, yeah. And so he didn't ask her to provide that information.
Yeah.
I later said to her, I was like, do you have that information? She's like, no.
Okay.
So I thought, okay. Yeah.
Why do you think she was doing that?
Which
If you
part?
had to guess, like
To the police?
accusing him of.
She was trying to me, because of this idea she had that Charles was this Ned Snyder, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That she was going to do everything she could to paint a picture that he was bad, but nobody would probably believe that he was Ned Snyder. So
Okay.
my guess is she's trying to look like he's really a bad person. That's what I'm seeing. Is like she's creating this monster to make him look like a monster, which he absolutely wasn't.
Okay.
And so she's trying to make it legitimate. I think, looking back, she's trying to make it legitimate, look like he was just a bad person. So
Okay.
that she would have a reason to leave him or whatever she was going to do, which, holy cow, who knows what she'd get into.
Right,
But
right.
anyway, does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to be as
So
accurate
back
as
to that Ned
possible.
Schneider. When was the first time you heard that, the Ned Schneider?
So it was in January sometime.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was on the phone with Chad,
Okay.
and I was in her house, and I remember even just like where she was when she told me how you remember the spots. I remember she was like in her back door coming in.
Okay.
She went out and talked to him probably outside, and I wasn't listening to that. But then she came back in, and I knew she was talking to him, and so she was kind of going back and forth. And then she got the phone and told me about him and told me what Chad said, which was he became this Ned Snyder person. That was in January before the 31st, because I know by then he
Okay.
already knew,
Yep.
right? Which amazing she told him that. It's crazy. Anyway.
Any other names
Yeah.
that she referred to Charles by?
Yeah.
And what was
So
it?
the first one was Ned, and then the second was Garrett,
Garrett.
Garrett, something like that.
Okay.
I believe the third one was Eblos, which Eblos was different because Eblos was supposed to be a combination of evil spirits. So
Okay.
it was just like a multi dark spirits together. You know, that third host
Sure.
that never came, that was like that group.
But that, we call it Hiblos or Hiblos.
Yeah, because that's how it looks like it's
Yeah.
spelled.
Eblos, that's how she would say it, Eblos.
Hiblos?
Yeah.
Okay, but that is spelled Hiplos.
Yes, yes.
But
I saw
that was a specific name, you knew that to be a specific name in referring to Charles?
Charles, yes.
Okay, was that name ever used to refer to anybody else?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And then so we have Ned, Garrett, and
Hiblos.
Hiblos.
Did she give context as to why those names for Charles?
So, Chad would be the one to give the context to her. She wasn't the one that would come up with stuff like this. So Ned Snyder, as I probably said on the air, you probably heard it, is Chad had this, he said that it's some childhood friend that Charles had, and that he died, and then he came back as he didn't ever leave. He was an unclean spirit that got trapped on earth, and he was now attached to him for years, and he'd been studying him, right, and his behaviors and stuff like that. That's what Chad came up with. And so then he pushed his spirit out of the body and took over. That's what he said.
Push Chad, Charles Spirit.
Yeah, so his spirit's now moved on. So if she totally believed it, I'm not sure, but I would guess at least most of her believed it. And so she believed that Charles was gone. He was already gone. So she was treating him like he was Ned Snyder.
Okay.
At least that's what I got an impression. You know, I don't know. I mean, my guess is how much did she believe it? Like I said on TV, if Chad's saying he's a good one. So there was some doubt, right? There was some little doubt, which everybody doubted it. But anyway.
So with that being said,
Yeah, it's so funny that she believed that a spirit took over her husband's body and then used it. It appears as an excuse to have him killed. Funny.
when we talked about
Yeah.
dark spirits, light spirits, we talked about
Translated beings.
translated beings. There's scores. There's
I don't know that word.
that makes score for like a 4.4
Oh, okay,
dark,
yeah.
light dark. You know,
Yeah,
so levels.
Yeah, I know
so
all about
levels.
the levels. Yeah.
Is that something that Chad believes in? Is that something that
No,
you
he's the
believe?
one that frameworked. He frameworked it all. And so
Right.
when he met her, he had this whole thing drawn out on paper, and she would just draw it to people. She'd make people like, "Oh, you guys see, this is so cool," and she would draw the whole thing on paper. So she'd go, "Okay, this is the line." She took great joy in sharing this. 4.1 means that you made a covenant before you came here. It's your third life. You finally made a covenant, light or dark. So you've been on the earth one time was your first time. No, pre-mortal's first time. Second time's 2.0 would be your first time on earth. Okay. Then the next time would be, it's been a while since I've thought about this. 3.1? Okay, you gotta remember better than me. I don't remember. I tried to lay that out. Anyway, that would be the next time. People still had decided if they're light or dark by that point, according to Chad's theories. So when you died again, because you come back now the third time, that third time now you made a covenant. No, that was the 4.1. Sorry. Yeah, the third time would be 4.1, and that would mean that you made you either made a contract with Satan or Jesus.
Okay.
And then you're either that was a light contract or a dark contract. And that's when the numbers started 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, then 5, then
Okay.
up to 9 or whatever, or 8 or something like that.
So would those be different than a trust scale? Like, have you ever heard a trust? Like,
I could guess.
Like a trust, like.
That would be different.
Okay.
Yes, this is why police like to talk about figuring out what these
Mhm.
these texts
Mhm.
mean, because they're not going to tell you. So trust was different. So 4.1 just meant how many times. Okay, the numbers meant how many times you've been on Earth.
Okay.
The L or the D means if you sign a contract with Satan or Jesus Christ. So
Okay.
if it's light, you sign one with him and you're good. You
Okay.
could switch over and go dark though, according to them,
Okay.
right?
Sure.
So anyway,
Could you
that's
go back?
that. Could you regress?
Could you? Yeah.
You
go
could
back?
always
Could
go
you go
back.
from light to dark to
Yeah.
light?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was very hard, they said, but yes, you could.
Okay. Possible.
Anyway.
There's hope for you.
There's hope.
Maybe.
Don't press. And so then they had these different scales. They would come up later. So everything evolved later. So nothing was all in the beginning. It was
Okay.
like little by little, like the rope got tighter and
Or like they were just making stuff up as they went along.
Well, I say fake knowledge, whatever you want to call it. The lies got bigger and darker as time went on. But in the beginning, nobody knew about these things, and the zombie word didn't come till later. And you probably know on text when they started using the Z word. I don't remember when they did, but it came shortly, sometime after. So yeah, there was this trust thing, and then they had a scale of 0 to 100% how much you could trust people. I was supposed to be like 97%. They were always building me up to how wonderful I was, right? And so anyway, she would sometimes.
So again, like if she's before they met, people thought they were similar, and they have her at a high trust scale. And she's told all these things. And she's laughing about it. I see why people don't trust her that follow the case. I'll put it that way.
I'm sure like, oh, this person or that person, it's not trustworthy, it's this person. And, that was their little game. Anyway, so yeah, there was different characteristics, but that was one of them, it's trustworthy.
How about, maybe you know or don't know, vibrations?
So vibrations, yes, I'm aware of that too. So according to how he would check, he used that little pendulum thing a lot. I didn't know that in the beginning, but anyway. And 1,000 was supposed to mean, if you got to 1,000, that means you're translated, or you're beginning your translation. Anyway, that's a lie. Anyway, so 1,000, and then as you get higher in your vibration, you could portal at some point, maybe, I'm trying to remember what she would say, 2,500 maybe, or something like that. And so the more you went to the temple, your vibration would increase too. So it's just like your light would increase, your vibration, that kind of idea, if that makes sense.
So you mentioned zombies.
Yeah.
Was that ever a term that you were exposed to by them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell me more about the zombies.
So Ned was first this dark, unclean spirit that took over his body, so he was just referred to as Ned in the beginning.
Okay.
But then, I don't remember when, but at some point they're just called zombies.
Okay.
And so then they had these ideas about zombies. She said she had a dream once that an earthquake happened in Utah. And so people that fell on the earth, if they were able to get rid of all the zombies in the world, then those zombies wouldn't get into those dead bodies and come back, kind of idea. And so what she talked to her, what I saw her do, she would just do like a priesthood thing, where she had the priesthood power. She thought she had the patriarchal priesthood.
Okay.
Chad always told her she had all these powers. Anyway, and she would say, I remember one time she took a map and she's like, okay, here's the United States. We're going to do a prayer. Let's find out how many zombies are in Arizona. Okay, there's 20,000, whatever, 10. I don't even remember the numbers. It was so out there. And then she'd say a little prayer, whatever words she'd come up with that she thought were powerful. And then he would check, oh, somebody died. Look, you can go find out. Well, he'd say that later to David, but anyway. So then that was her way. In my opinion, what I saw, at least, was just through a prayer that these people would pass away.
And so the people are actually living beings.
Yeah, so they would be like, everybody, let's say in this police station, they're all alive. And so let's say they would check and they'd say, oh, there's 10 zombies in the building, right? Something like that. And then they'd do a prayer. And then they would say, oh, according to his little pendulum or whatever, oh, it looks like out of the 20,000 that were in Arizona, yesterday we found out there was 10,000 people that died, or there's only 500 left. You came up with something.
Okay.
I'm just like blown away in the scenario, right, where people doing this and you're still talking to them. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't like uncovering it later or whatever. Like, she knew this was going on and stuck by them for a while.
Does that make sense?
And so they actually suffered a physical death?
Yeah.
So
they would just die.
in that example of the 10 people here.
Yeah, so those people would be dead in the morning.
10 people would be dead in the morning.
Yeah, just by their prayer.
Okay.
But there was no evidence, so nobody really knew that was true. Because, everybody dies every day. There was no way
to know if that was
no, it was ridiculous. Okay. Yeah, it was ridiculous. But yeah, that was his explanation of, oh yeah, this is how many. Then now they got to the point where all the zombies were wiped off. So according to their prayers. But they had no evidence of seeing it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I think you had a question about the truck, right?
Yeah. So you know about Charles's truck at the airport?
I heard that it was at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
She told me that Alex drove it to the airport.
This would have been in January when
he flew out of town.
He went out
of town,
right.
And then he went to the airport, dropped his truck off. She said he always dropped it off.
Yes.
And then Alex came to get it, and then they put it somewhere. I think. Okay, we'll go back to that because you're talking about where different places she could go. Yeah.
So Alex recovered it.
Yes.
And is that where you guys put his clothes to? Charles's clothes?
No. So let me try to remember the best. This
Okay.
is a little. I don't remember all the details because they were crazy and rushy. But at some point, let's see, I went over to her house and I saw her box up his clothes. So she had a box that she put his clothes in. She put one in the storage, like back behind food storage.
Okay.
And then she took another one to DI or Goodwill, and she dropped it off at Goodwill. And I was like, isn't that a bit, like, isn't this kind of overboard what you're doing? No, I was told I got to do this. Jesus told me this is what I got to do. So anyway, and so his clothes were not in the truck. I mean, that's the only thing I saw is the box in behind there, and then the box that went there. And she might have done other things, but I don't remember what she did. I know she did. I know she was going through some paperwork up in the office, looking for passports and important documents and something about a computer, but I can't remember if she kept it or did.
Charles's computer.
Yeah, I don't remember what she did with it. Did she take it? I don't remember if she took it, but I remember something about a computer, Charles's computer, and about money being transferred and things like that. And at some point, she wanted me to follow her. She was going to put the truck somewhere else. I'm trying to remember the details of this. So she drives it to a hotel in Gilbert, and she just parks it there. I don't think she was staying there. I don't think so.
She had said that she was staying at a hotel in
She
Gilbert PD.
was staying at a hotel. I did see her at one hotel, but that wasn't the same hotel. That's what I'm trying to remember. I think it was like a Marriott. I remember she said something like a Marriott something Courtyard maybe.
Okay, Courtyard by
Does
Marriott.
that sound right? I'm trying to remember. So
Yeah, Hyatt?
yeah. No, I don't know. I don't remember. I'm not good with hotel names or car names. Don't ask me names now. That's not my thing. So I remember she wanted to move the truck. She moved it. I remember she dropped it off. She drove it and dropped it off at this place. And it was right off the highway. It was like 202. It was right by the temple, like that 202.
Okay. The new temple in Gilbert?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was near that location.
Do you know who helped her with that?
Well, I was with her
Oh,
in
you
the
were
car. I
with
was with her in her car.
So you followed her in the car?
I think so.
So that's just like another case of like she tries to like distance herself, like, oh, I just know of these things. Oh, where were you? I was following in her car.
Yeah, it was just me and her.
Okay.
I'm
Was
trying
it
to remember if it was her
after?
car or my car. I can't. That's what I'm trying to remember. Is like what car we were driving.
Was it before or after you went to Gilbert PD?
I think it was before.
I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. She's definitely slowing down.
I think it was before. Whatever. Because let me just. Okay, it was before. This is how I got to remember events. So what happens? So anyway, she parks it there. I don't hear from her. She takes JJ to school, drops him off. Charles steals her purse.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I text her the next morning, something about how you doing or where are you, what, something. I don't remember what
Claims Charles steals her purse. Okay.
I said. And he has her phone.
Yes.
And he said something like, hey, come to the house, bring the truck. I'm like, what? And then he said something like, the truck's over at your husband's office. I'm thinking, this doesn't sound right. It's not. And I'm thinking, something's.
It's been a while. Didn't she steal his truck? And that's what this whole thing is, right? Like, she stole his truck, and then the police were like, she stole the truck and took the kids and was saying crazy stuff, and the police were on her side because there was like body cam of it, right?
She lost her Fruit Loops or what? I'm not sure at this point. And it's something about getting the keys. I'm like, I don't have the keys. And then he doesn't know that, so he's trying to get me to help him find his truck, and I'm like, I don't know, So anyway, I end up going over there, and her car's not there. And I come in, and two guys are like doing the locks because he busted the door down. And he goes, hi, Melanie. I'm like, hi, Charles. And I'm like, where's Lori? She's not here, is she? No, she's not here. I'm like, oh man. And so she's like, hey, come here, I gotta talk to you. And I was like, oh man, it was so uncomfortable. Oh my gosh. Now I look back, I'm like, oh, my heart breaks for Charles. He was so caring and I'm so worried about her. She's lost her. She thinks she's some translated being that's married to Moroni, and she thinks I'm this Ted Snyder guy. And I'm like, I'm just
He
sitting
referred to
there.
it as Ted?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
And so I'm like this. Oh, this is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh man, I don't know what to say. Oh man, it was bad. It was
Did you
so
tell
bad.
him about the truck, or had you guys not removed it? Or
I don't even know if we talked about the truck.
okay,
He got his truck back, but I'm trying to remember now. You know
it
what?
would have been after the Gilbert visit.
Probably. So this was neat. This was really interesting. So anyway, I gave him a hug goodbye, and I didn't say much. I was dumbfounded pretty much. Anyway, so I leave, and I'm driving down the street. I called Chad because I knew that she was connected to it. I was like, do you know where Lori is? He's like, oh. He acted like he was cool. It's like he thought that I didn't know anything because she wasn't supposed to tell me anything.
Oh.
Yeah. This was all supposed to be between her and him, but luckily she spilled it so I can share it in the future to everybody.
Right.
But she was not one that could keep a secret, I think. And anyway, so he was like, I don't know. And he was playing clueless. And anyway, so I get this random call, and I'm like, who the heck's this? So she got another phone, I guess. And I just guessed it could have been her. And she goes, oh, yeah, Charles took my purse. He stole it, da-da-da. I said, hold on. Jason Mal's parked, like, right in front of me by the park. I stopped by the park on the exit out. And I'm like, maybe this is some God intervention thing. I don't know why. He's an ex-police guy. So
Yeah,
he's sitting there, being a good officer, texting on the side of the road. I was like, that's so him. And so I giggle at that, right? And so anyway, I was like, Jason, like, this just happened. He goes, well, go to the police. You need to go to the police, and you need to report that her keys are stolen. I'm like, okay. So then I tell her, I was like, I think we should go to the police. And she's like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So anyway, Charles had been there before, but we didn't know it until after we got there. And then
Did you mention the truck thing to Jason too?
I don't remember. Probably not. I don't.
How interesting that, like, the truck thing, which could implicate her in knowing something wrong's going on, she doesn't talk about it. Suddenly. Wow, it's so interesting.
I don't remember.
Could you have? I only asked that because I've talked to him too. So.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I have to guess.
Okay.
It's a yes or a no. I don't know.
I don't know is also an acceptable answer, right?
I don't know. I don't remember every conversation I've had about this whole crazy story. Unfortunately, I don't have that great of a recall. I wish I did. Yeah. So does that answer your questions?
Yes.
Okay. Does that fill in some blanks?
It corroborates information. How's that?
Okay. I know. All truth will come together if it's true.
So let me get this right. So you took Lori to pick up the truck at the airport. Lori picked up the truck. Is that true?
Well, I didn't go to the airport. That was Alex.
Alex went to the airport.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Alex.
I did not go to the airport.
Okay, so
yeah.
Alex.
That was Alex. So some people in media got that confused.
Okay.
Too. I was like, oh my
So
God.
Alex took Lori to the airport to pick up Charles' truck.
Yeah, and then they
They
put
dropped it off
somewhere.
at a hotel.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
you
yeah.
said that clothes were taken, one box to Goodwill and one to behind the food storage.
Yeah, it was before Charles came back because I remember he was out of town. So
Okay.
yeah, he was out of town.
And you asked her specifically about the Goodwill, why are you doing that? And she said because the Lord told
Well,
her.
yeah, I was like, why are you telling him all these? You know, I'm trying to remember if she told me how much she told him. I was like, why are you taking all his clothes? That's like, I thought that was really out of control. And so I was like, why? I think I said something like, isn't this a bit extreme? I think that's probably more accurate what I would say.
Okay.
Isn't this a bit extreme? And she's like, no. So that was before Charles got back.
Okay.
Do you remember her behavior at the Gilbert Police Department when she was telling the officer about getting rid of his clothes?
I just remember she was pretty upbeat the whole time. She was kind of a happy, just acting like, yeah. And I'm sure that you remember seeing that video coverage probably. I didn't even watch it.
Upbeat, acting kind of like Melanie did this whole time in this interrogation.
I couldn't go back and watch it. I was like, oh.
No, I've watched it.
I couldn't even watch it because I was like partially out of it. I was like, I don't want to see myself in that video. I'm trying to see myself on TV.
So tell me about Julie Clement.
Yeah.
Are you friends with her?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
And I was a little bit friends with her. It was Sulema that was friends with her.
Yeah,
and
my
Sulema and her.
understanding.
And they did energy work. That's how they knew each other.
Gotcha. Did you ever attend any kind of, my understanding, of prayer circles?
Yeah, a few times.
Okay, how about one in August after Charles' death?
Yeah.
You remember going to the house?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So we met at, so let's see, who was there? It was Melanie, Alex, I think Alex was there, Julie, Zulema, me, David, Chad, and Lori. That'd been it.
Okay.
I mean, so yeah, so they wanted to have a little prayer, yeah. And he whipped out a seer stone. I actually saw him with a seer stone.
Who did?
Chad did.
Chad did?
Yeah, I can't remember if I told that the first time. Sometimes I was like, do I need to share everything? Like,
What's
you know,
the importance of that?
I don't know. He just had it in his hand. I don't know. He just had it. Maybe he just wanted to show that he had it. I mean, he didn't say anything about it, and then I saw it. I was like,
What is it? What's a seer stone to you? As far as...
well, there was no explanation. I could just guess what it. I could guess that you could. The scriptures what it is.
Okay.
So he identified it as a seer stone.
Yeah, but he didn't go. He didn't talk about it. He just said, well, if he didn't, I don't remember him saying anything about it.
Do you remember any talk or during that prayer about Iblis?
Possibly. There's a good chance. Well, let's see. Charles was already dead, right? So
And
I don't think they would talk about that.
I think Julie had mentioned something, Clement had mentioned something about a dragon.
Yes, I remember her. So I didn't have any of their visionaries.
Okay.
That was not any. I don't do energy work,
Okay.
so this is all something I don't. That's their stuff. Okay,
Mhm.
just say that's their department.
Sure.
And it seems like I remember that Julie had this veil that seemed to be thinner, where she could see stuff, and so could Sulema. It's like there was a prayer where there was a dragon. They saw like I saw a dragon.
Okay.
Maybe they mentioned it a few times, but if they were in that little circle saying a prayer, I don't know why Hebrews would be mentioned if Charles was already dead.
Was there a reason behind that particular prayer circle? Maybe?
I'm trying to remember what I remember them saying prayers. I remember Sulema speaking. And I'm trying to remember if they were talking about certain people that they were trying to help the spirits, like that they thought that they had the power to take these spirits out of the bodies.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember who she was focusing her energy on.
Again, he's dead. She's talked about, at this point, zombies, dragons, past lives, talking about how she's gonna kill him. All this stuff. She is still interacting with this group.
And I can't recall. It could have been Brandon. It would have been Tammy, because Tammy had not been claimed anything. My guess is it could have been Brandon.
Okay.
But I'm not
Yeah,
100%.
sure.
I'm not 100% on that. Or maybe it wasn't even. Maybe she was talking about the Earth. Hold on, I'm just trying to remember this. Because Sulema thought she had the power to control elements, and bring earthquakes about and those kind of things. So that might have been more of that kind of. I really, it was so out there. I'm trying to remember that prayer. David wouldn't even remember any of it because he was so checked out. he was like so uncomfortable. He was so uncomfortable about it. Oh, he was so uncomfortable about it. Anyway, I'm sure he probably doesn't even remember he blacked out. They could have been talking about the earth. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. She just had this.
On that note, talk to me about Zelena. How well do you know Zelena?
Well, I knew her. She won't talk to me anymore.
Okay.
When I told her I was on the police, it was done. So yeah, we were friends in the war. We knew each other probably about a year, maybe a year less.
So you talked about how she had the power. She felt she had the power to control elements and bring about earthquakes.
Yeah.
How do you know how long she and Alex were dating together or anything like that?
Yeah. So in the beginning, that was just hello, how are you? Getting to know you.
Again, like the power to control earthquakes. So what was the deal breaker? I was going to speak to the police.
It didn't happen until kind of right at the end. So if you want to know more about that, what I know about that is that she was content being single, but Chad and Lori had said, well, you and Alex have been married in another life, and you had been married, and you guys would be part of the 144,000, and you need to move up to Idaho, get married, and all that stuff. And she was like, no, I'm not getting the same answer. It was kind of tit for tat between her and Lori about that. But she was waiting to get answers. I remember one point, this was like right at the end. This was like my last time or two when I saw her, but she's like, I remember Chad and Lori in Hawaii. And me and Alex did a blessing through the phone because they were being attacked by Julie Rowe through a text. The text that went through, they hit it. All of a sudden, the dragon, this Gordon Sullivan, I know. We try not to smile during these moments, but I know. Okay, anyway, this is why the interview was hard with Nate. Some people thought it was like a little too lighthearted because you look like Nate. You can't help but go, this is freaking weird. Anyway, so she said, oh, me and Alex were in this prayer, and we could see the dragon. His priesthood power was so amazing. You know, she just was so like wowed by it. And they helped cast that dragon out from Hawaii where they were, and anyway, I was supposed to help them. So let's see, they got married, and so okay, they moved there in September. So I would say, when did they start? Okay, so if we were at the dinner in August, they started getting more friendly then. They started getting more attractive. So I say that summer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's helping me. Yeah, with just settings. If I can remember a place, and it seemed they started to kind of like each other in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
How close were you with Alex?
Friends, yeah, friends.
Would you contact and call him on the phone for anything? Or
Very occasionally, but
Okay.
yeah, that would happen.
Describe his
Personality.
dedication. Describe his dedication to Lori.
So I remember in the beginning when they started talking about her Joe, he was very protective of her. So there was a lot of like, he would describe Joe as this horrible person and how, he felt the need to protect his sister. And so I remember saying something about he tased him in the nads, he would say, and then something about the trunk. And he didn't care about if he went to jail for her. He was like, he felt like that was his way to protect his sister. I don't know why he felt like that, but he did for some reason. Now later I understood why he felt like that more is because what Chad told him. Chad told him later, as they started getting into their crazy, more and more their crazy doctrine, right? Then they would be introduced to him. In the beginning, Alex was a nobody. He'd just been here on Earth once.
Okay.
But then later they would say, oh, now we understand you're only 100 because you're only here for Lori. You didn't need to come here already exalted. So you were that angel that stopped Laman Lemuel from killing Nephi. You were that angel.
Okay.
So he took it on as
So they made Alex a special angel in their nonsense to try to manipulate him, basically.
identity. And so he felt like his job now was to kind of protect his sister and be that angel of whatever.
So you think he was 100% buy-in through
Well,
this?
I think so, because when he said he moved, he got a confirmation. Lord said, you pray about it, see if you should go to Idaho. And he said, 100%, I got this. Yes, I need to go. And then when I saw him, the last time I saw him, I said, this zombie thing, like, I'm not 100% on that. And even still now, I said, yeah, I'm still getting confirmation on that.
Okay.
He goes, 100%. Melanie, 100%, I believe it. And I'm like,
Okay.
so my guess is he fell for the whole thing. And then the interesting thing is he really had a lot of weight on Chad. He really believed him. He even gave him a patriarchal blessing.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Were you there for that blessing, or
No.
did you ever hear the blessing?
So that day that I saw him in the Greenbelt, when I was walking between two houses, when I said, do I want to have JJ? What is going on? I'm starting to feel like something. I'm still kind of in that shocking coming back from the whole police thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I was trying to figure out what was going on still. Anyway, so as we were walking, he has it on his phone. He goes, I don't know, he probably read a little bit. I don't remember what he said.
Okay.
He was like tearful about it.
Okay.
He was like really believing, like, Chad gave me this beautiful blessing. And I just cried like a baby. And Melly's like, I don't ever cry until after I have a blessing. I don't cry during it. She's saying something about that. And I was like, just listening.
And this was in Idaho?
No, this was
This was
Arizona. This was
okay.
Arizona, yeah.
Do you remember when that was?
Yeah, it was, well, okay, so 26th they called me, and 27th, 28th would have been Thanksgiving. The day they got married, what day was that, 29th?
November.
Yeah, was that the 29th? I think I figured it out on my paper somewhere. So, it's the day they got married, it was that day.
Okay.
Okay.
Describe the patriarchal blessing to me in your terms. What do you think the importance of a patriarchal blessing is?
Well, the way I grew up believing patriarch is a patriarch is called of God. He's a particular person over a whole stake that gives a blessing to a person about their life.
Okay.
So, I don't know what Chad thought he could do, but he sure thought he played that role there.
So would you say that Chad was not authorized to
No,
give sex
absolutely
lessons?
not.
Okay.
No.
Would you say that such a blessing would be like some sort of, like if you got it at a younger age, would be some sort of guidance for you? Or is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, it talks about your life and your gifts that you have and maybe some things that could happen in your future. If you're obedient, you can have those blessings happen to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That being said, I just wanted to play, so this particular clip is, I have it labeled as patriarchal blessing.
Okay.
Just for purposes of recording. So just, if you could just tell me whose voices you hear in this.
Okay.
Chad Daybell. It is
That's Chad.
November 24th, 2019, a Sunday afternoon, 5:15 p.m. We are going to give Alex Lamar Cox a patriarchal blessing.
Alexander.
That'd be Laurie.
Alexander Lamar Cox.
So the two people you heard voices were Lori and
That would be
Chad?
Laurie and Chad.
Okay. How about your relationship with Chad? I know that introduction was done, or whether it was done or not,
Yeah.
in St. George.
Oh, with me or with them?
With the two, I think you went to see Chad in St. George was the first time they met, right?
That was the first time I didn't go specifically to see Chad.
Correct.
Okay.
But
yeah,
But you'd known Chad before then?
I had known Chad before
Okay.
then.
Describe your relationship with Chad.
So when we first met, it was very brief. We just kind of introduced, like, hey, I'm Melanie, I live in Arizona. I've had some beautiful experiences with the Lord myself, and I probably took mission. I did classes probably. I become friends with Mike and Nancy.
Okay.
I don't even know if I can share that much. Just a little bit.
Okay.
If you read that forward of my book, that part he talks about that in that.
Okay.
I sent that picture to Rob. I don't know if you have a copy of that.
Okay.
She has a book? I feel like someone's mentioned she has a book. Is she trying to sell detectives on her book?
But anyway, I have a copy of that, and he writes a little bit in detail, like he's remembering me. So
Okay.
that will be more detailed there.
Now, if you look at this hierarchy or circle or however you want to do it with trust and vibrations and scores and everybody else, who would you put at the core or the center of this group?
Chad and Lori were definitely, they consider themselves the head of that group.
Okay, and the group, was there a particular name for the group?
No, see, this is where a lot of people are like, is there a big following? Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll do my best to describe what I at least know.
Okay.
There's lots of other things I don't know, because Chad's so quiet about his life, I don't
Okay.
know a lot about it. In Chad's little circle with Lori, there was just the people that I mentioned around that table, except for there were 3 other girls, but they kind of got kicked out of the group, and I think you know who they are, Serena, Christina, and Nicole. They got booted out, like, right in the beginning, so.
For any particular reason?
Well, I remember Serena was calling Chad too much, according to Lori, and so now we decided, those two decided that she needed to be out,
Okay.
because now she's becoming dark.
Okay.
She didn't do anything. Thankfully for her, she's out.
Okay.
Christina and Nicole were the first ones that Lori started talking to her. That was where I met her. So they were the first girls that she would want to ordain as, part of the 144,000. Those were those 2 girls. And they left the group. I think they started getting suspicious. I think Christina in particular got suspicious of Lori, because she would call her out on some things at some point, or question some things like, well, Chad, he's married, kind of, she was a little.
So the first person that gets kicked out is too attentive to Chad, and the next 2 are, realizing something's wrong. Which, again, brings me back to, why during all of this did Melanie stick around?
A little bit more smarter of the group of us. Anyway, and so she got suspicious, so then they started saying that she was, all these things about her, she was getting darker, and then at some point, I remember, this is bad, I remember this now, she was, what do they call it? She wasn't 100% human, it's like she had, like another, I can't remember what she referred to it as now. I want to say not a lizard, or some lizard. Anyway, that's really out there. Like,
There's a Geico commercial where
yeah, kind of like she came from some other. Anyway, you don't even want her to know that she.
Okay.
That's you don't want that to come out.
So she's out.
She's out of there.
She's
Nicole's
out.
her best friend, so she's out too.
Okay.
Nicole's very sweet, and as you probably know. And so anyway, so really that was it as far as this whole kind of zombie talk. That was it. Now, Chad had Julie Rose friends. He left them. They are evil.
Mm-hmm.
They are mixed up with these energy work things. I think this has all come from energy work. Now that I look back and what the Lord has taught me first, I'm like, well, let me tell you what happened.
Yeah.
And because I watched it, and so it was just made to my mind, like, this is how an energy work opened the door. And so Julie Rowe, I believe, got him really. And between the 2, who started what? That's what I'm still trying to kind of figure out.
Okay.
But between the 2 of them, she didn't know about the zombie thing. I think he came up with that. But she introduced it, or either Eric Smith, that follower of Julie's.
Okay.
Came up with this multiple probation thing, I think. I heard it could have been from him. I don't know that that's true. I would not know that by somebody telling me that, other than recently, after all this has gone down, like, well, Eric Smith wrote a book on multiple probations, and I said, well, somebody mentioned it. Anyway, I've had people contact me. One lady contacted me that was part of that little group of Julie Rose, and she was telling me how things were going, and I was like, we were comparing, like, I remember that, Chad doing that to Lori. Like, he had some power over her sexually, and she was saying that some guy did that to her, and she's like, that's just what they do in their group. And I'm like, that's their energy work or something that they do. I said, I don't do energy work. I don't know if she did energy work or not, but anyway, she got out of the group. Her husband was with her and helped pull her out, and she was so grateful, right, that she got out. But so that group exists, but I think Chad is.
Again, she's talking about all these weird groups and weird things they do. but she's also in a position to like, she's like, oh, I didn't do it. Oh, I didn't do it. But you're still involved with these people.
Just part of them, and then he kind of broke away from Julie because he got tired of her. According to when they first met, Chad and Lori at St. George, he said, "I'm done with Julie Rowe. Like she texts me all the time, but I'm done with her. Like she's so da-da-da." Then there's all these energy groups out there though. Either Julie's introduced, she's done her little workshops, but even before she did that, there's people doing energy works, and I believe that a lot of these groups, and Utah, Arizona, they're doing these energy. A lot of these energy works are talking about multiple probations. So it's not that he created it so much. It's just that somehow that darkness got out somehow about this lie. I call doctrines of devils. That's my word for it. And it got out, and it's kind of plagued some of those groups. So I don't necessarily think he's the founder of any of that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
But in this group, you would put Lori and Chad.
Yes, but in their particular thing, excluding everybody else, they were like the group. And they have these number systems. So you probably saw someone text, like there's a group of, I remember, 72, let's see, what is in the church? You got your 12, then your 70, and then 144, right? And so she'd be like, okay, we're in charge of 24. She said at one point she was in church, they were in charge of like 24, like
I think
4
there
men
was-
and 12 women. Does that sound familiar? What is it?
I think what I
Remember
had
that? 24,
found
20, yeah.
something similar, which is the dark and light scale of all church
Leadership.
apostles.
Yeah, no, that's different. But this was, so she said basically.
There's so many crazy systems that they can't even like keep them straight.
In the spirit world, they had planned this out that they were in charge of that group. And so that, anyway, so she was at a small scale. I don't know what he had going on, but she was.
And all of this is just to excuse their crimes, right? Like, Lori and Chad just use this to excuse murder and
Such a social butterfly. She was not the kind of person that wanted a big crowd and know a lot of people. That wasn't her.
Lori.
Yeah, she was more like, I'm just going to be promote family, not. Yeah.
Do you think she took instruction from Chad?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would she do anything without his, I hate to say authorization or at least insight?
In the beginning, I remember her saying things like, I said to Chad, like, I had this experience before around in the temple, and I felt like he gave me the patriarchal priesthood, and he would confirm it. Yes, you did. Yes, you were married to Moroni before. So he would confirm her little things. And then she goes, I felt like I was supposed to find these. Yes, you were, Lori. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then she said at one point, well, he's so good at getting revelation. I just go to him. I'm not as good as I used to be, or I'm not as good. He's really good at it. So I ask him. So she'd be asking him at this point, you're saying a lot of text. At this point, is this person light or dark? This person, what are they, 4 point, da-da-da-da. That was their, and so you could think she would go to him for that. Right?
So
He wouldn't go to her for that. She would probably just give him a name or something like that.
Do you have any idea how Lori would have found out about Charles and Adam's coming to Arizona to?
Oh. I guess it's that Charles would have just texted her or called her and said he was coming.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember how she would have known about Adam. Maybe Alex could have told her? I don't know. I don't remember.
So if a message was on there, say on her phone, or it's basically said to Melanie Gibb, I'm on the phone, I'm trying to find out what to do. Do you think that she would seek Chad for advice?
Always.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, always.
Talk to me about Melanie Gibb. What's your relationship with her? What's her
Yeah,
part in
I'm
this?
friends with her. So Lori, as you know, raised her partially, so she feels like she's kind of like a mom to her.
Sure.
She would, in the beginning, Melanie I didn't think she was quite into it at the beginning, and then Lori just kind of camped on her for some reason, like Brandon. Lori went after Brandon, her husband, for some reason. He's gay, he's this, he's that. And then she would build this story up of how she'd try to oh, look at this picture, it makes him gay. Like, it didn't look like he was gay, but anyway. And so she would build a story up about him being gay. And then, I don't know why she honed in on her so much. She just did.
Okay.
And then maybe because she thought she was such at a high level, because she got to the point where she's like, yeah, no, Melanie's exalted too. She was married to Peter, Jane, Peter and John. And so Brandon would be her equal opposite in opposition to her. And so for some reason, Lori put all her energy into him. Thankfully, she didn't put her energy into me. Thankfully, I divorced Brandon, which was actually really good, because then that kind of got him out of the picture, which who knows what she would have done with that. And luckily, they liked me, so they kind of slapped us along. But anyway, so she went after him.
Isn't it just wild how, like, she has all this inner workings and knowledge, and she just happened to not fall for any of it, right? Like, she wasn't a believer, and she wasn't, she wasn't working with Chad or Lori, the people that, killed people that got in their way. No. But she has all this knowledge and all these connections. But she didn't have anything to do with it. She's always she always finds a way to distance herself, right? There'll be like some new revelation she's saying in this, or saying something new, or some new, but I didn't believe her. Ha 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 ha. Okay.
And then at some point, he changed from Brandon being just dark to now he's a zombie, and he was part of Hitler's team.
Do you remember when that was that he changed?
When she started talking like that, near the end. I mean, it's always closer. It gets crazier at the end, right? It seems. Probably in the summer is my guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I
After
really
Charles's
don't.
death?
Probably before then,
Okay.
or I don't know for sure. It was always evolving. Oh, let's see. Wait, hold on. So I remember she was moving at the same time Lori moved in the house that Charles was shot in, because Melanie moved. She got a divorce. So this is how I got to remember. So I remember like placing them in my mind places. Probably she would have probably called him the zombie by that point. Yeah, I would say so. There we go.
But I saw that.
Yeah. So anyway, she just started saying that he was after her. I think this is what I got the impression from Lori is that Melanie, Chad would say through Lori, your house is bugged by Brandon. He's got all these little speakers and microphones. I was like, does he really? Like, because I was thinking, I really was just like, really? Are they really in there? And then, you're being followed by some private detective, which, he did have private detective at one point, right? But I don't know if he had one at that point. I don't know. But so she became paranoid. She became very paranoid, and they would call her every day, give her blessings on the phone, according to what Lori told me. And then anytime I talked to Lori, I didn't talk to her as much after that day, but it really started kind of weaning off me, and all the focus, it seems like now that I look back, all the energy was focused on Melanie, and it was so hard. It was horrible what they did to her. And anyway, so she just got more and more paranoid.
So they took all the focus off the one Melanie and shifted it to the other Melanie. Gotcha.
And he got more and more evil, according to them. And so then she was told by Lori, like, you guys, you gotta move up here, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
But meanwhile, while it shifted away, she still knows what happened. Or at least has an idea.
What else do you want
It
to
almost seemed like she just preyed on her.
She did prey on her. She put all her energy into her. Yes, she really did.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying to very much convince her that her phone was everything was being mugged. Her phone, her car was being mugged, everything. She couldn't live a life. She had to get new phones all the time because they were getting taken over by the dark people.
So would I be missing anybody if I put, as far as a group of people, Lori, Chad, Zulema, Melanie Boudreau, Alex, and I think maybe you were on the outskirts somewhere, kind of teetering, ready to run and ready,
Yeah.
Anybody else that you can think of?
Well, Julie.
Rowe?
No,
Oh,
Julie Clement.
Okay.
But she was kind of right at the end.
Okay.
So she wasn't in the beginning at all. And then those three girls.
Do you think Julie Clement had any idea regarding zombies, things, or do you think maybe she was just
she
kind
knew
of
about that.
naive and stuff like that?
Well, she did know about it. But I think because of she believes her gifts in the energy world, she probably thought that she was just helping out. She did not. I mean, if she met with them, Chad and Lori, it was probably a couple times, my guess. Unless they did more behind my back. But, not around me.
Absolutely.
Maybe a few more times.
Because I think she's indicated that she's only saw Chad twice.
That's probably correct.
And then she got introduced by Zulema.
Yeah.
And that they kind of, from what she's saying is she was almost felt like she was being used for her energy.
Probably. That's probably
that would be
probably
consistent.
true. I'd say she was being used for her energy abilities. Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds like it would be right. And I don't know how many times she met with Lori, but it wasn't a whole bunch.
So back to January. When January and Lori left Charles, and then Charles stayed in Texas with JJ.
Well, eventually he moved
Eventually
there.
with JJ. Where did Lori go?
So I knew she was in the hotel in the beginning, but then she went to Alex's house.
Is that the?
I don't even remember where it was because I
on
wasn't
Williamsville?
familiar.
Hyatt on Williamsville? Did you ever go see her over there?
Well, I think one time, her and Tyler were there one time.
Okay.
I think I only went to the hotel like maybe once or twice.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay.
So I don't recall how she was so going crazy that I didn't kind of catch every move she made, of course. Then when Alex, I guess he had that house, so she moved in with Alex.
Okay.
And he lived out there in Santan.
Santan.
Yeah, I don't think she lived anywhere else. And then she went to Hawaii. And that was kind of like her getaway home, in the hotel.
Yeah.
Don't remember the name of the hotel. Please don't ask me to remember because I don't even remember. Especially because they're Hawaiian names and I'm not going to get it. Anyway, and then she came back and where did she go? She came back.
Are you aware of her going to Idaho in March?
Was that the time she was living in Texas? Because I went to see her in Texas and I think that was
March
May.
19th to the 20th. Her and Chad
Yeah, she did
flew
mention that
from
sometimes.
Idaho to Arizona.
He came down and did a class for a group of people.
Okay.
It wasn't at my house at the time. And I remember she was living in that house before the last house, the one that was in January, when she lived in January. The one that's not the big house, but the next house.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to remember this. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Where were we?
So she came back from Hawaii.
Yeah, and
It looks like she kind of moved around.
I think so.
Here to here.
I think
She went to Idaho, her and Chad in Idaho, and then it looks like in April that she was in Houston. Do you remember
Yeah.
a thing in Houston that Chad might have gone to?
I remember when I got to Houston, she said, Chad and I are gonna go do some of our mission work together.
Okay.
And then I left, or I can't remember if I got there or left. Anyway, between the time I got there and left, I was not there, but she said that she went to a hotel. I remember I was like, oh, she's in a hotel. And then she said that she said she was supposed to go to Idaho Portal. They were going to portal into Idaho Temple.
Okay.
I know, I'm trying not to laugh. And another temple. So Idaho Falls, Rex, or something about that. But I'm thinking they probably were in a hotel now. That's probably a good guess.
Okay.
So, and maybe she never left that hotel. She totally made up the whole story. So there we go.
Did you go to an event there?
In Houston?
Yeah.
No.
So there was never an event.
Oh, there was never an event in Houston.
Okay.
Oh, was there an event? Was there an event there?
So and that would have been April of 19.
That sounds. That could be right about that time.
Are you aware of a group called Vallow?
Yes.
Do you know anybody by the name of with a vow?
Doesn't sound familiar. I don't know.
Okay. Is there like a head person or somebody with a vow? Do you know who that? Anybody else that you know from that group?
I have no idea what this group is. Avowed, I think. I've never heard of it mentioned, so.
Well, okay. So when I joined the group, I met a few people we went camping with up
Okay.
in the Arizona mountains. So I know like one person died. Her name was Marty. So she'd be Marty Gomez, but she passed away. And then Lorinda Love, she'd been on there. And then there was a girl. And I wasn't real familiar with these people. I didn't get on Vallow very much. I was not one of these people that were on these forums. And I was
Okay.
like, read a little bit. Very periodically, I might like, hey, let's try this product. It's really good, or something like that. But I did not get into their exchange. So no, if the names scroll by, I didn't hold on to
So
them.
what is a vow?
So Vallow is a forum. Do you know what a forum is?
Mhm.
Okay. So it's a forum. It's called LDS Avowed, means a voice of warning. So it originally started by Roger Young,
Right.
who started teaching about last day stuff. And so they put really good information. Actually, they had like gardening techniques to how to store food, current events.
Mhm.
Then they got to the dreams and visions, where they compiled a whole bunch of people's dreams and visions about things they saw in the future. And then anyway, so then they pull a thread out, and then people.
So it's a forum that's a mix of religion, I guess just random people's dreams, and like prepper stuff.
Would start a thread like, this happened, this disaster happened in California today, or
Okay.
just all these different threads. And so people would make comments and all kinds of, they'd start one up, and anyway, they started off. So I got off there like a year or two ago, and the group drove me crazy. So I don't have I probably ever seen her name scroll past. Who knows? Maybe, but I don't know her personally that I know of. I mean, they have different names on there. So
Sure.
if she has a different name, I don't know.
So so being a forum, you wouldn't see something like send an email. Do you think it's out of the ordinary for anybody to send an email to Chad Daybell that would say, my name is so-and-so from a vow,
Yeah, that would be something that would happen.
and
sure.
we're doing a young men's, young women's thing at this location?
It could be.
Okay.
It could be. Yeah,
Okay.
something like that could happen. Because
Okay.
you could send messages to people in there. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I didn't know how it worked because it was complicated, so
Sure.
I wasn't good at that.
So it was a vow is most like a forum or
It's a forum.
threads, that type of thing. So
Mhm,
it's
it's a
not
forum.
not a company where there's somebody that's head in charge of it.
Well, yeah. Well, he took over and bought it from, I don't know if that's the right word, but maybe bought it from Roger, he left it. And so he's the one that's kind of in charge of the whole thing.
Okay.
And he gets money, so he, it's like a fee to get on there. It's like $35 for a year or something
Do you
like
have information?
He would send emails to me, but I don't know him personally.
Okay.
I mean,
Email
the group would send.
Okay.
It was like, blanket. We make sure you come back to the forum kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Which I
Okay.
deleted the other day. I was like, really? You're asking me of all people to come back to the forum? Do you even know that my name was sent? That's why I was like, yeah, right. No, I don't know him personally, and I don't think I've ever talked to him personally. So,
Right.
yeah. I'll just say prideful group. I try to stay away from it. It was bad. Yeah.
Think of anything else? I think that really helps us on the narrows on the timeline. Do you know who is?
Yeah. I know him first because he was the publisher for Jason Mao. And then he became the bishop also of that board that, I want to say, I get their names confused, Charles and Lori moved into the second house. So he was the bishop for that when she left him. He was that bishop.
Okay.
And he was also the publisher, so he helped me publish my little book. And
So she does have a book.
I didn't know him. I met him at a few events with Jason to help promote his books. I think I met him face to face just a few times, but nice man. Yeah.
So, if I use the term, and I told you the book term, and this is just your opinion, okay, and your knowledge of the church,
Okay.
that I'm going to be like Nephi, that I'm going to be like Nephi, or if it was a Nephi and Laban ending, what would that mean to you?
So I think they had that discussion. Alex and Lori talked about something about Laban and the Nephi thing.
Okay.
So that would mean to me, that part where, well, I don't know, Laban, but more not like that
I'm
one.
learning so much.
So, well, okay, there's a story of Nephi who, there's a guy named Laban who's, they're trying to get the plates from him, and so he would have to cut off his head to be able to take those, retain those plates, and he was more of a wicked man.
Laban was?
Laban was wicked. And so anyway, he would have to, the spirit would move upon Nephi, so they felt, in moving upon Nephi, say you need to cut his head off, because he's not, gone 3 times to him now, and he's not giving you the plates. And so, anyway, the spirit says you need to cut his head off, and he does it, and he's horrified by it because he doesn't really want to do it. He's never killed anybody before. But he does it, and he was able to dress in the clothes of Laban and go get and retrieve the plates, and then they were able to go out and leave Jerusalem. They went from Jerusalem, and then they left from that area because they left. They needed those plates then. And so, my guess is that when they were talking about that, which, I didn't know what they were going to do, I didn't know all these things, but if I could look back and understand that now, that would probably mean, like, he would need to sacrifice probably Charles's life is my guess. That's what they're referring to.
You overheard a conversation?
I heard them slightly talking about it.
And when was this?
And I probably right before Charles came down.
So now she just kind of looking back. Oh, well, they talked about cutting someone's head off in, like, I'm assuming it's like a Mormon religion setting. I'm not super well versed. And now looking back, she's like, oh, they could have been referencing Charles.
Or days, I don't remember if it was days before it. And I don't remember if she was talking on the phone with somebody. I kind of was just briefly hearing it, but I can't remember if Alex was sitting there or if they were on the phone. I can't recall. I just remember it just sounds familiar. I'll just say it sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure it was before he passed away. That's what it feels like to me anyway. And so my guess is that they felt like that was my guess, interpreting it, not knowing that at the time, but now that they felt inspired that was a moment where they could take Charles' life. Not Charles, they really felt at least Alex really felt evil inside there.
Okay.
So
in essence, they wouldn't be really taking the life of Charles Vallow.
No.
They would be taking the life of
Elos. Yeah.
And, like, so if she's seeing that now, I think that begs the question, why didn't you see it after Charles was dead, when this would have been even more fresh in your head?
Or Garrett or Ned.
Yeah, that's what they believe.
Are you understanding that, because they gave 3 names for Charles, other than Charles, so are all 3 in Charles at the same time? Or?
No, one would move on, and the one would get pushed out, and then the other one would take over.
Okay.
So Garrett was next, and then Garrett got pushed out, and then Elo stepped in.
And that would be fitting their definition of a zombie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And their way of getting rid of zombies then was, at some point, either praying or whatever to end that entity's life.
Yeah, so that entity would just leave, just like Garrett left, just like Ned left. So
to
me, it was very surprising that he died the way he did. I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So yeah, that was very unusual.
So they leave, and they're never to come back again, because you said, I'm surprised that they were mentioning Elos again, because Charles was already dead.
Right. So once he was dead, like, where would Elos be? I mean, and they could have, I don't know, I don't remember, but I would guess that Elos was gone.
Sure.
And if they mention him again, I really don't remember anything about Elos again.
So a particular body can only be consumed by one dark spirit
At a time.
Well, in the beginning, so it was Ned only could be in there, or at least that was my understanding, and then he would leave in this other one. But Elos was different, because Elos was like a combination of evil spirits combining self, but they weren't. So, okay, in our religion, we believe that premortally, you have people that came down to the planet and became us, right? We're now, who we were spiritually, we're now here. But there was a third of that never came down here and never got bodies. They were saying that would never happen, but there'd only be somebody that had lived before, like a Ned who lived on the earth, and the unclean spirit went in him. But they were saying, oh, no, Satan's getting more trickier. His tactics are getting better and better. They kept saying that he'd get better and better. That was Chad's probably reasoning why things didn't work out the way he thought they always would. It was his way. That's how I started figuring Chad out. He'd say, oh, that didn't happen. Oh, well, it's because of that. It's always, oh, it's because of that. So now there's Elos. Why wasn't Charles dying?
Mm-hmm.
They thought they had all these powers. Oh, we came up with another reason why he wasn't dying. Oh, now it's Elos. Now it's all these combinations of, they're getting smarter. So there's, at least I remember Alex saying something about, it was like 1,000 of them, or somebody said it. It's like 1,000 of them, or it felt like it.
Yeah.
So it was a combination of all these entities that never came there, so they took over his mind. So that's what they were saying.
Okay.
So
Alex specifically told you he was so strong during the start of this fight that it felt like there was 1,000
yeah,
spirits.
Yeah, that's it.
And Alex never disclosed to you that he was hit with a bat, just that he was in a fight?
No, I think he told me he was hit by a bat too. I think I remember both of them saying it. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember it not, it's not familiar.
How long were you supposed to stay there? And then you showed up on the 9th? You spent the night?
It was just like going back, because I didn't live far.
Okay.
So I go home, and then I remember sometimes trying to call her, and she was just like, tonight's not a good night. So I think the total times that I've gone there.
But that night, you spent the night on the 9th, and the next morning you said she got up and said you need to leave.
Yeah.
Did you find that kind of surprising?
Yeah.
That she would,
Yeah.
Was it early? Was it, what time?
Well, as soon as I walked out of my bedroom, I remember, it was 7, 8 in the morning, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't one to sleep in, so.
And she says that Charles and Chad.
It's coming down today. If I remember, she said today. So if that was the 10th, it would have been the next day, right?
So it would have been the night, you spent the night there the 9th, and the 10th is when you woke up, and then the 11th is when you.
So then she must have said he was coming down tomorrow. Yeah. He's coming down tomorrow or today.
So Lori rushed Melanie out of the house because Charles was coming down, almost like they were plotting something.
I thought it was, she said
Okay.
today. But anyway, yeah, and I was like, why? That was
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
why? Like, what reason can a normal person like a policeman say, this guy's come down to kill me? Like, I didn't understand that. If you think he's evil, it's really, what is the reason? Like, how do you know these things?
Yeah.
So, it was a little off, definitely, for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did she ever mention calling the police or anything like that, as far as she felt so threatened by him that she needed to do something? Or
She seemed like she was busy, like, talked on the phone. She'd like, you know, trying. I just got this feeling she had a storm going on, and you know.
Did Alex ever say what he spent the night? Did he ever tell you why he
I
stayed
think.
the night?
Well, I don't remember who said what, but I remember his point of staying there is to protect her, make sure she was safe.
Okay.
Something like that. Like he was going to be with her. I knew that he was going to be there. Oh, I think she said, yeah, he's leaving. You need to leave. Alex is coming and spend the night, and he's going to protect me. Something like, and he's coming down. I really didn't think a lot about it because I didn't talk to her till however many days afterwards, and then she calls me and she tells me what happened. So I'm like, what?
Right.
So I didn't expect any of that to happen. I thought, oh, they'd work it out. You know, they're not really going to try to kill her.
Right.
I didn't get, like I said, I didn't get in the drama. I was really
Yeah.
outside that drama circle, so I didn't really ever expect to hear that would happen. That was very surprising to me.
And then 4 days later, you talk with her again. That's what she asked if you saw her.
Yeah, I think it was that many days. You probably know better than me.
Surprised she went that many days without finding out.
I don't remember. It just seemed like that many days.
Anything else you can think of? Regarding zombies, regarding getting rid of people, specifically into the
Charles.
Charles. You know.
Which I remember her saying things like, you know, Charles was a nice guy. I miss little Charles, like, in there. She's like, I didn't even have a proper burial for him. Like, she didn't get to say goodbye. She was always being chased by these demons. She'd say stuff like that.
This was after his death.
I don't know, at some point. I don't even know if it was after or before. Probably was before.
Okay.
You know, it's just like, he was a nice man. And she'd say nice things, kind of, but then she'd try to paint, it seems to me she just tried to paint a story to be able to justify reasons for leaving or whatever. And I encouraged her, I was like, why don't you get a divorce? And, you know, you probably heard that, me say that.
And why not?
And because, you know, they lose their exaltations. At least Chad would. I can't remember if she said she would, but he would.
Obviously, you made a comment earlier about the vibrations. Your vibrations increase every time you go to the temple, and your veil gets thinner, and you can teleport and all these different things, according to them.
According to them.
What do you think would have happened to her if she had her temple recommend taken away?
Then she wouldn't have been able to go to the temple anymore. And she would have been sad about that, but I'm sure she would have kept on doing her crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Chad, whatever they really did, I don't really know.
Okay. You obviously think that was very important to her? Because she was going pretty much every day, is that my understanding?
She was. I mean, you know, I don't know how she would travel and go all over the place. I don't know how often she went after that, but she went often.
Yeah.
It was in the beginning before she met Chad. It was like an everyday thing. I think after she got Chad, I think it started lessening up sometimes, but it was definitely on her priority list. Even when she was white, she would fly over to the main island to go to the temple there.
So her going to the temple lowered after she met Chad. So basically Chad became a replacement for her religion, I guess.
How much of this, and this is just a personal question, nothing kind of proof of case or anything, how much do you think of this was religious based as opposed to...
Money and sex?
Absolutely.
So those are some good questions. I think in the beginning it was religious, okay? I think that their lofty ideas of who they thought they were and their gifts, and manipulations by the dark side too, because I know that things can be manipulated to think things are light when they're not, okay? I know that's real. But I think when they met, it was kind of like they were like, oh, I know this, you know all this, kind of like, let me show you what I know kind of feeling. And then it got into the sex. And I think sex was the driving force behind the new theories he came up with, new doctrine that he came up with. I think that sex, and you know, a lot of people say it's money. I think the convenience of having the money was there so they could be together and do all their sexual things personally. I don't know how much, I think they just thought the idea probably the money was there just so that they didn't have to work maybe, but I don't know. So in the beginning, I think it was religious. I do. And I just think it just, and I think this is really what I think. I thought a lot about this, as you can imagine. I didn't know she was a manipulator because I just met her. So I didn't, and I'd never been around manipulators.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it was religion at all. I think they wanted each other and they wanted an excuse to be together in what they viewed as the best possible scenario.
Before that, it's a new concept to me.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. I don't know how to do it myself. I don't get how it works. So when she was manipulating, and what's the other word? You know, lying or deceiving and manipulating. It was just something I wasn't aware of, or it was foreign to me. And so, anyway, as I came to understand, looking back like a few times, I would think she would lie, like when she did the police thing. And then, remember, this is a white lie, but little lies are a big deal to me. You do a little bit, you do a big to me. She'd say, oh, Melanie's gonna come over. I told her I wasn't feeling well. And I'm like, but you are feeling well. Like, to me, I wouldn't make that up.
Right. That's
not my personality to say, pretend to somebody I'm doing something I'm not. That to me, you should always just say how you feel. Anyway, so I thought, that's weird. Why was she's such a great person. Why would she make up a little lie like that?
Yeah.
So that's the only time I can remember any lies. I'm sure there was tons of them going on, but I didn't know what. I was like, no way she would make stuff up. She's too good of a person because she was just.
No way the woman who believes in zombies and spirits and there was a dragon thrown in there. She wouldn't make anything up.
So sweet and loving and kind in the beginning. I'm like, there's no way she'd make this stuff up. But anyway, so I think this is what is interesting to me now, looking back. Because of her manipulate and deception, she would find somebody that could manipulate, like he was manipulating deceiving too. He tricked her, she tricked him. They tricked each other so well that they were their equal opposite evil match for each other.
Right.
Like they got exactly what they put out. You know, what you put out comes back to you. I think that's what they did for each other. And I think that's why they got in the mess, because if he would have done it with me or anybody else, would have been like, I'm not manipulating that, that's not going to work on me. But because she was that way too, I think that's why it worked.
In the time that you've known Chad, have you known him to have been in any other extramarital relationships other than...
I know his didn't feel like there was anything like that.
I did hear a
going on.
report on that she had claimed that something happened, but I don't know.
I don't know that that's true.
Okay.
I have no, I would not know that.
Okay.
I didn't, it sounded like that wasn't true when I heard it. I was like,
Okay.
yeah, so it didn't sound like something I would necessarily put him with, so.
Well, I mean, you sound like a great judge of character when it comes to Chad and Lori, so they should trust you.
Any talk? Well, obviously, Tammy died in October. Did any talk? Did you weren't talking to Lori at that time, then, right? Or
In October?
Mm-hmm.
Not very much.
Okay. Did she ever mention anything to you about Tammy's death?
Yeah. Well, I talked to the Attorney General all about Tammy.
Okay.
So that's all with them.
Okay, perfect. I'll let them handle it.
4 hours.
Okay.
Very nice people.
Yes. We're not 4 hours.
Yeah, you want to spend 4 more hours on that one? Like, oh.
Well, honestly, you could go into this for days.
It hurts.
It does.
Like afterwards, you kind of jangled. You're like, I knew these people. Like, this is, and everybody knows about me in the whole world.
Yeah.
I don't want everybody to know about me. You know, I'm like, oh.
I work on it for a day and I'm jangled for a week. So it's,
You can imagine what I've gone through.
I know.
It has been a living hell, but I'm stronger.
Yeah.
No, I'm very stronger because of it. And there's many things I'm grateful that happened to me and not somebody else.
Right.
Because I got to experience something at a very high level that was deception. That if I could consider my armor,
Yeah.
I had a weak link in this deception area. And now it's fortified. And now I know a lot more about deception. I'm grateful for that knowledge. I'm not grateful for what happened. I'm horrified that people died because of these crazies.
Yeah.
When somebody like Chad comes along, he seems so humble and sweet and kind. It's like, he looks like a typical Idaho boy, you know? You don't think that they're lying to you. Because I don't get the lying to deceiving. I don't understand that. And so I just thought he was who he was. And so I have really started to see the flags of deception now, like little things along the way. We're talking to God all the time, we're getting all these answers all the time. No, God does not work like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell you what to do. Every time you wake up, he gives you a list of things to do. And I thought, wow, they have better skills than me because I don't really hear from God like that. You know, I was thinking, he sees visions all the time. He's got it. And I don't even think he has visions. I think he's making all this stuff up. But I
Yeah.
in that first interview I was talking about it, I look back and I'm like, I don't think I was accurate anymore. I think that I have to come to observe more and realize, like, because, you know, I've become friends with a lot of people, and was a really neat person I got to visit with, and she, you know, he wrote a book for her about her dreams and mostly about her near-death experience. When she was sharing that with him, he didn't disclose his. That's like if you and I were talking and I said, look, you tell me all about your near-death experience. I'm like, I'm going to tell you about mine.
Right.
He didn't do that. And so she's like, I think he took stuff from her and Julie and other people. I think he just kind of story writer.
Interesting.
And then he knew the scriptures. I believe he knew them really well.
Absolutely.
And I think he just used that.
Well, he was on a mission, right? I thought they had his partners.
Yeah, he was on a mission.
His stories.
Yeah, he was a missionary. Yeah, but I just think that he was really good at conning people, and I think he was good. I think he was a good writer as far as pretending and making. He said it was fiction, but he was taking other people's stuff and making it sound like he was saying the backdrop, you know, to his friends or people like me or Lord, like, well, you know, these are things I really saw, and I make it like fiction.
Yeah.
So that would be his safeguard. I think he's saying this is fiction. I didn't say this is real. That would be his safety net.
Back to the armor. You mentioned armor, and I've heard that term.
It was in
in my
scripture.
lifetime.
Scripture,
Yeah, your armor of God. Yeah. Did you ever reach out to Chad about maybe somebody you feeling vulnerable or needing a blessing or anything like that? Did you ever reach out?
I remember one time my son was sick, and I said, do you think you could give him a blessing?
Okay.
Something like that. And he said, this was interesting. You'll be interested to hear this. My son he was sick, and I was ministering to him like I always do essential oils, or I do a lot of healthy things, put cold rags. I was very involved in helping my kids feel better. I did not do energy work, and because I didn't know how. Anyway, so I was doing my best as this mom knows how to. So he slept through the night, and I started to feel better. I woke up, and he started to feel better, and I was like, you know, the fever comes flying back on. You know that when you get sick? So anyway, I thought, you know, I'm just going to see if Chad can help out, because I've heard he could do that to other people.
Yeah.
I said, hey, he's got a fever. Do you think you can like do something to help? Something, I don't know the words I used, probably said blessing or something like that. I jump in the shower, come out, I go, 10 minutes, maybe, and it's completely better. And I'm like, hey, he didn't need a text back, I don't think. I just said, hey, somebody goes, oh, I extracted this, how do you describe it? I extracted some entity or something from him, something from virus. And I was like, well, whatever you did, he's better.
Yeah.
Now, we can push all of the ideas away. What I really think happens, and this is between you and me as a person, not as a police department, is that when you open dark doors, it gives you power to do things.
So here we are. Here we are at the end. All of this, they're lying. But Chad, you know, opened the doors and he has power.
Of manipulating, deceiving, which mirrors things that look like they're healings. And if you're given that power to like put a virus on somebody, right, you can have the power to put that back off, same thing, that power to do that. I think that's just how I did it. Because I mean, I know that he did that for other people. I think that was, I don't think I ever asked him to bless me personally, but I can't recall.
So a common thing, like I think you mentioned, I did see something else, maybe with reference to Zulema. You know, I removed this from you and I increased your
Yeah, that's
armor.
something he would say.
Okay.
Your spiritual armor, which would not be an unusual Christian term to use.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just to ward off any kind of maybe or dark spirits or something, you know.
Yeah. So he thought he had this power to do it. And Sulema would say, I remember her saying many times, I don't know what he did, but all this darkness is off me now. I totally feel better. And so they dialogued more than I did, because she had all these things that I did not even have.
Okay.
So they would be ongoing. And that's why I think it was harder for her to come out of this, is because I think that energy work got her sucked in, and I think that she really thought that was from God, and it wasn't.
Have you talked to Melanie Gibb since? Or did I ask you that?
No, you didn't ask me that. So I haven't. The last I tried to like talk to her, like, hey, people aren't zombies. Brandon's not a zombie. That was back. I remember it was around Christmas time, right after I told the police everything. I talked to her that time, and she goes, I can't talk, and the phone's being bugged. So she wasn't free to say how she really, we could have a real conversation because there was no microphones. I encouraged her that it wasn't good. I encouraged her everything I could to what I would come to understand. And then she texted me in the middle of the night, like, I don't know, if like weeks later maybe January, I don't remember. But anyway, and she's like, do you remember the name of a song? Like Lord Daybell, we love Lord Daybell. And I can remember, anyway, we ended up talking, and I just continued to try to counsel her, and she continued to, I can't really share much.
Yeah.
Then after that, I never spoke. Well, did I speak to her on the phone? I can't recall speaking to her again, but I remember trying to text her, like, hey, I'm praying for you. You want to talk? I was trying to do my best to hold her. I was like, come on, I hope that you're not involved in anything. I didn't know if she was. And she just was like, I'm busy. Thank you for the prayer. Just short little answers. Then I saw her at the temple only once. I didn't talk to her, but I saw her, and it was Sulema, Summer, and her sitting on the couch. I walk into the celestial room. It's just a room where you sit down, And I go, first I saw her, I thought, oh, I can talk to her, and I saw Sulema there. I'm like, oh. And so Sulema was kind of facing down like that in prayer, and then she kind of came up, and then I just turned and sat over here, like around the corner. She didn't come to talk to me. I was bummed. I really wanted to talk to her. And then I just said, hey, it's like a temple, and anyway, so there's been really nothing. So yeah, I think that was maybe the last text or two, and I have not tried to contact her now that she's made statements about her belief structure. I just decided I just don't think there's a place for me right now with her life. So.
Did she ever come over on the night you spent the night at Lori's on the night? Did she come over?
I don't remember. I remember seeing her. She couldn't. I mean, she did. It was quick. I don't know. I just don't remember details like that, like people coming in and out. Unless it's specifically.
Where did you sleep in Lori's night?
So, okay, there's a back. So if you go to the kitchen, you take on the right. There's a JJ's bed in that bedroom, and there's a bigger bedroom back here. And I think Tyler's was on this side.
Okay.
I've been in that back one.
The pink room?
I know it has some crazy stuff on the
mattress on the floor?
Yep, mattress on the floor, just a big queen size.
Okay.
And it seemed like she might have had another one at one point. But anyway, there was a queen one, and
Was there food storage in that room? Do you remember if it was?
yeah, well, in the closet there was a little bit, but yeah, there wasn't in the bed.
Okay.
I think it was, yeah, that's the room I spent the night. I think I only spent the night. I want to say it felt like about 3 times.
Okay. But next morning, the 10th, she says you need to go. And Alex was not there on the 9th when you were there.
No, I'm trying to see when he was. If I know I've seen him over there before, but I don't remember when it was. I don't remember him. I think I was gone for it. If he came over, I think I was gone. I didn't see him. I just remember when I did see him. Ugh, my brain hurts.
I know.
I try so my memory is not the sharpest always, and so I'm
It's
trying
pretty
so.
good. That's why you're so short.
Yeah, I know. I try, and some things leave an imprint because it's so bad.
Right.
It's like I don't want to remember that.
You got to remember, we're asking you questions
Right.
what might have been just like mundane stuff.
I know.
And we're asking you to remember because now
Exactly.
it might be important for you.
Exactly. I am here to help wherever I can.
Awesome. Well, I got your number, and if I think of anything else, I'll probably just call you and ask you over the phone.
Yeah.
And make you come back in here.
Yeah, I think I'm just
likewise, if you
wondering.
think of something else that.
One thing that I did think that was important, that reporting that I did. I said, why would Alex say this? I don't know how did I say it? I don't want to know where the kids are, and then they won't be able to be found. I just kind of combined it, but that was from Solana, that information was that particular strip. I just wrote it one when I was speaking to her, because they both came from either me or her. But anyway, I don't know why Alex would say that. I didn't even want him to know. Remember, that's what she said. I didn't even want him to know. And he doesn't even know where the kids are. I think she said something like, well, however I said it.
Yeah.
So to me, that says we can't blame Alex. If you're an attorney, she can't put that on Alex when she says we didn't even want Alex to know. So if they're going to try to put the blame on her or him, I think that part of the recording is helpful.
Okay.
Would you agree?
In regards to the kids.
Yeah. I think it could be helpful to be used against her, personally.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I know there's a lot of evidence.
Can't blame Alex for what happened to the kids. I mean, that just sounds like it's not good for Alex. To me, it just sounds like they want to distance him because if they don't distance him, it comes back on them.
I know that we have not rolled out the rug yet because you guys know so much more than I do, even though I know the weirder kind of the definitions to what you're reading about.
You help us to corroborate.
You have the Rosetta Stone for us.
Yeah, well, someday the police and I are all going to get to enough powwow. It's all good. It's been a hellish year, but it's been great learning for me. And I'll just say that I'm grateful that if anybody had to go through it, I'm glad it was me and not somebody else. Because I'm kind of that. The reason why I was involved, I would say, is because I am very trusting. That's my weakness.
Well, I've come across a couple people like that.
Yeah, just so trusting.
That are just trusting, and I hate to use the word naive.
But there's some gullibility there with trusting too much.
Absolutely.
You don't have a tough skin in that area.
One lady that I've spoken with was like, I trust everybody. I'm a huggy person. I trust everybody. There's good in everybody.
And there is good in everybody.
Well, especially when you're dealing with religion.
Yeah.
If you're talking at a level of religion and Christianity, you do have that trust. And to me, there's really no difference in. I mean, look at some of the scandals involving, priests, bishops, anybody in a high level of authority.
It can be manipulated.
Absolutely.
One of the definitions that I read in the Bible dictionary I thought was fascinating. It was under the title devil. And it said, because I'm researching a lot of stuff right now. It's been very interesting. My own little research going on. And it says, one of Satan's greatest tricks is to convince, I don't know if that's the right word, people that they are following God when they're not. And you think about all the other religions, and I'll just say in general people, how many people kill people in the name of religion? Gone in and raped people, villages, right, in the name of God. That is one of religion. Wars are part of religion. So this is just a version of thinking of these great people, and they still do because they're not remorseful yet at all. They're still in this cloud, and I'm hoping that bubble is going to pop one day, and I never want to speak to them until that bubble pops and go, do you know how much you deceived your kids, girl? Or he killed them, or Alex killed them, or something, but she's involved. I feel like all three of them are involved. And I'm just, you need some serious prayers, girl. You need some help. Like, it's going to be a rude way to
You
get
hope-
there.
you
You
hope.
hope she gets that before she dies one day. You
Yes,
hope that she
you
gets to that
hope.
point. I'm hoping
Yeah.
Well, I just... How do I want to end this? What are my thoughts? It feels to me like she remembers so much. She was privy to so much, so many damning things. And after learning them, stuck around and stuck around and stuck around and stuck around. So either she's just completely oblivious to what all of it meant until after the fact, or she knew during and wants us to think she was oblivious till after the fact. It reflects poorly, obviously. I fully see why people told me that if I watched this, they believe, after watching this and other interviews with her, that they believe she should have been charged with something. I can definitely see where people are coming when they come to that conclusion. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm interested. I did speed this up a little bit at certain parts. I skipped ahead from the very beginning where nothing really happened. Try to condense it down into something that's actually watchable, but without cutting too much. I don't trust her. I'm going to be honest. I don't trust her. I think that's all I can really say.